All right, I think we're good to go here. This is my second video. In this video, I'm going to focus more on my experience with my insurer, Cooperators Insurance, and some of the experiences I encountered with the insurer of the fellow that hit me, the personal. Within a week of my accident, a gentleman from the personal showed up at our house. I was really struggling. My concussion caused me to sleep about 20 hours a day. Half the time I was speaking French without knowing it. My kids would say, "Mom, you're talking French." It's not my first language, it's my second language. And still to this day, sometimes I'm trying to say a word and it comes out in French. I realized how bad it was when I tried to play Scrabble a couple months ago, where I can't think of English words anymore, especially 5-letter words. I don't know what that means, but that's one of the deficits I live with today and will probably never go away. So this fellow shows up and conducts a detailed interview about what happened to me. I had made notes about my accident as soon as I could, fearing I would forget everything. Most of my accident, what happened, other than my recalling seeing the car in front of me, that was sort of what I remembered. And I remembered sort of coming to on the pavement, trying to touch my face because I thought my nose was bleeding. In between there, I don't really know what happened. I just know where I hit the car and where I landed, sort of. And it was a cop that heard the event, that saw the guy come through the traffic, the car I hit, and so forth. That kind of gave me details, and then I made sure I wrote them down in terms of like describing the day. It was a sunny day, 8:30 in the morning, rush hour traffic because I'm on my way to work, but I'm in a cycling lane, and I'm following the law. I'm not running a red light or anything like that. First thing Cooperators tried to do was, because I wear prescription sunglasses and have worn a prescription since I was a teenager, I think, but only for cycling and driving. Normally, I don't walk around with glasses on. So my eyes haven't changed much over the years because they're not really dependent on glasses. More so now with aging and since the accident. But Cooperators demanded all my prescriptions and tried to imply that I couldn't see properly. But if a car drives in front of you, making a mad left turn, and you're coasting at 20 kilometers and it comes in front of you from about 3 feet away, doesn't matter how well you see. But anyway, my prescription was up to date despite Cooperators' efforts to blame the accident on me over and over and over again. Sorry, I'm going to look to the left on occasion to refer to my lovely spreadsheet. My whole life is now documented in spreadsheets so I do not forget what's happened, so I can put things in a chronological order when dealing with lawyers or whoever. So this gives me an opportunity. When I say I saw someone in this date, it's written down so I don't forget going forward, because I pretty much forget, mostly everything these days. So I started out with an agent called Pat at Cooperators. She seemed to be relatively human. I can't say that I had any difficulty with her. Coming from Manitoba, I thought when I got hit by a car in Ontario that my medical costs would be covered related to the injuries from the accident. Not in Ontario. Actually, a specialist could say, you need this surgery or you need this treatment, but some dumbass adjuster with no medical history can say, no, you're not allowed. We will not pay you, or we don't recognize your injuries. We don't accept a doctor's or specialist assessment. We decide. And they will pull any 3 or 4 words out of any report from a doctor that they have paid to support their decision. So, for example, one of their doctors I saw, Dr. Chow, Raphael Chow, did an assessment of me, and you're ordered to appear for an assessment. It is like going to court for a crime. You have to be there, and they threaten you left, right, and center of all the things they're going to do if you don't go. So you're sent to a doctor that basically lives off income from the very same insurance company. Hello, conflict of interest, right? Absolute total conflict. Someone told me there's two things you need to know about the insurance business in Ontario. Number one, that the insurance companies will not pay. And number two, that the insurance companies wrote the legislation. The Ontario government said, go ahead, write whatever you want, and we will allow it to be law. So that's what you get in Ontario. It's so corrupt, it's unbelievable. So Dr. Chow, I thought, did a fairly decent assessment, except for some really stupid, odd things. Now, I had suffered damage to my hip in the accident, and my hip clunked and clunked and clunked. Every time I moved my leg around, it was clunking. And I brought this to the doctor's attention. But just prior to this appointment, my hip had actually, the tears had given way, and it felt like my femur had come out of my hip socket. I was trying to dance. So what I was doing is, I guess, moving my hip to the side, and I hadn't danced in some time. And because of those injuries from the accident, 3 months later, the tissue gave way. I nearly fell down, and I had to sit down. And then by the next morning, my entire leg was black with bruising. It bled all down to my knee inside the tissue. And I took pictures of this, which I shared with Cooperators, of course, and the doctor. The doctor said to me, which is bizarre because I never said I was a dancer, he said, well, that happens to ballet dancers. I'm like, yes, but I'm not a ballet dancer, so what are you talking about? Anyway, he dismissed this clunking in the report and the injuries to my hip just outright, never considered them. But he did rule that I was not in the minor injury category. Another brilliant brainchild of the Ontario insurers. They make up arbitrary crap to sort of cut you off from levels of support. So if they say you're minor injuries, which there's no measure of, this is totally subjective stuff. They limit the payment to like $3,000 or $2,000 for your injuries, which is bullshit, right? You got injuries to 8 areas of your body, and they're going to give you $2,000. That's going to pay for your care for, I don't know, 4 months. Anyway, so, but Dr. Chow said I was not in the minor injury claim, that he said I had a substantial inability to work and suggested a neuropsych assessment, which was, of course, the famous Carrie Lawson, now defunct neuropsych, who's got all his credentials removed for lying in court. He's the guy that did my assessment, and he did considerable damage to me as a human being by lying, by misrepresenting, by failing to perform several critical tests, by never even considering the cognitive deficits that appeared in the test, but by writing some crap explanation that basically implied everything was in my own mind. That was not helpful. But as I said prior, Cooperators used his report, circulated his report long after he lost his credentials, and bits and pieces of it still appear 3 years later in other doctors' reports, who took portions of that to write a report that was favorable to Cooperators' position that I was not injured at all. Anyway, Dr. Chow's report was revised. So in Dr. Chow's report, there's and I guess insurance companies do this, the center part of the report is actually written by the doctor, but the front end and the back end are written by the adjuster. It's important that you know this. This is critical because this is where the bullshit goes in. So Amanda Carteret, another person from Cooperators, an adjuster. I use the term loosely because I don't think she had any training to do anything. She's like just a little bulldog trying to get rid of me. Anyway, this bitch basically modified the report by writing a front end that said I fell down. So now my labral tear has nothing to do with hitting a car with my left knee. It's all about falling down while dancing. Where did this come from? Well, she made it up. She actually made it up. She put it in the front of Dr. Chow's report. And then the second report Dr. Chow wrote, because they went back to him to ask if he wanted to change his mind about my assessment based on Carrie Lawson's bullshit report. What does he do? Of course he changes it. So He then decides that I'm not injured and I'm no longer in the major injury category. And then mysteriously, the words how I fell down appear in his report. Now, did he put them there? I don't know. I called him. I contacted him and let him know that he had revised his report based on a doctor's report, and that doctor's report was now defunct because the man had lost his credentials. Dr. Chow seemed to care about this. He said, you will have to ask Cooperators to ask me to amend my report. I said, why can't you just retract it if it's based on somebody that's thought, well, nope. So, of course, it never happened. Of course, I brought this to Cooperators' attention again and again and again and again. But they did nothing. They sat on their ass. They sat on their hands because the narrative was going in their favor. And their narrative is, Lisa, you imagined hitting a car. Lisa, you imagined hitting the concrete. Lisa, we're giving you nothing. You can go screw off and die. Well, I'm not going to, Cooperators. So just so you know, everything I'm talking about, every bit of corroboration, sorry, my language, but every detail, every report, every communication with the insurance company can be found online at ottawasucks.org. This website is dedicated to my experience with Ontario Insurance and also Ontario Family Court. So have a good read, enjoy it, and I will be back with another podcast. In the next podcast, I'll focus on how Cooperators, specifically Amanda Carteret, went to specific doctors I was seeing through my GP. Specifically Dr. Weber, who was a sports specialist, because my labral tears to my hip required surgery, 2 significant tears. Did I have surgery? No. Why didn't I have surgery? Because the surgeon said, sorry, the wait list is too long. Screw off, go away, suffer pain, whatever. Dr. Weber wrote a report saying how this would eventually lead to severe problems with my hip and my joint. And Amanda, lovely Amanda, stole a page from that report and withheld his second report from my insurance, from me, from my lawyer, from everybody. She just threw it under her desk, I don't know, under a pillow, wherever. Anyway, I got it. Dr. Weber gave me the report. So Amanda, you watch out, girl. You watch out. The truth will be told. Thanks for listening.